There's a strange moment in every betrayal story. A moment so small, so ordinary, you don't even realize your entire life is about to split in two. For me, it happened at a red light. If you had asked me a few months ago, I would have sworn I understood my wife better than anyone alive. 15 years of marriage can trick you into believing you've seen every side of a person. Their highs, their heartbreaks, their quiet secrets whispered in the dark. But illusions don't die loudly. They shatter in silence. For me, it took a single glance. One accidental flick of the eyes toward her phone screen, and suddenly, everything I thought I knew collapsed. 11 words. That's all it took. Last night was incredible. Can't stop thinking about your body. Those words weren't meant for me. And the name above them, Jose, wasn't a name I had ever heard in my home before. So before you judge what I did next, before you decide whether I deserve the truth or deserve the pain, stay with me. Because what happened after that message didn't just break my marriage. It exposed a version of my wife I never knew existed. And a version of myself I didn't know I was capable of becoming. My name is Frank Brennan. I'm 44 years old. And until about 90 days ago, I truly believed I had built a good life. A steady career, a comfortable home outside Portland, and a marriage I honestly thought was rooted in loyalty and love. Heather and I met in our late 20s. We climbed through the usual ups and downs, made decisions together, decorated rooms together, healed from losses together. I thought we were, us, solid, unshakable. But that night proved me wrong in a way I never saw coming. We were driving home after dinner with friends, one of those nights where everything felt warm and easy. The windows were cracked open, letting in a soft spring breeze. Heather was humming to some pop song. I remember thinking life feels pretty good right now. Then her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and for a split second, something flashed across her face. Not exactly a smile, more like a quiet, secret satisfaction she didn't mean to show. At the next stoplight, she picked up the phone again, thumbs moving quickly. "Who keeps messaging you?" I asked, only mildly curious. "Just work," she said, dropping the phone face down on her lap. But as the light turned green and she accelerated, the phone slid forward. She reached for it, her thumb tapping the screen by accident, and the messages opened right in front of me. 1 second. One unforgiving second. That's all I needed. Jose. The message. "Last night was incredible." My chest tightened. The world seemed to tilt. She flipped the phone over instantly, but the damage was already done. "Who's Jose?" I asked, somehow keeping my voice controlled. Heather's eyes widened for just a heartbeat, pure panic, before she smothered it with irritation. "Just a colleague. He's harmless." "Harmless?" I echoed, the word bitter on my tongue. "Does your harmless colleague usually talk about your body?" She laughed in that sharp, dismissive way she uses when cornered. "Oh my God, Frank. You're being ridiculous." But her hands were locked like claws around the steering wheel, and she wouldn't even look at me. That was the moment I felt something tear inside me, a trust one didn't even know was fragile until it snapped. The rest of the ride home felt muffled, dreamlike. I stared outside at the houses passing by, wondering how many other people in those warm little homes were living their own secret tragedies. When we pulled in, Heather tried to pretend nothing had happened. "Ready for a nightcap?" she asked with a tight, practiced smile. I didn't answer. Instead, I picked up her phone from the console before she could stop me and stepped out of the car. "Frank?" she shouted, rushing after me. But the phone was already open in my hands. And what I saw, I wish I could unsee it. Weeks of messages, maybe months, all of them explicit, all of them intimate, all of them undeniable. "Still tasting you. We're that red thing I like. Need at least 2 hours with you. Same hotel as last time?" I felt sick. Heather stood beside the car, not ashamed, furious. "Give me my phone," she said quietly, her voice sharp as glass. "How long?" I demanded. "This is ridiculous," she snapped. "You're invading my privacy over nothing." I laughed, a strange hollow laugh that didn't sound like it belonged to me. "Nothing? Heather, you're sleeping with him." Her eyes narrowed. Then something cold settled across her features. Calculation. "Fine. It happened once," she said. "A mistake. I was going to end it. But my thumb kept scrolling, pulling up more proof, more lies, more nights she claimed she was working late. She saw it too, the truth written all over the screen, and her expression hardened. You know what? I'm done with this. When you're ready to talk like an adult, come inside. She walked away. Heel clicked sharp against the concrete. Doors slamming behind her. And just like that, my entire marriage felt like a stranger walking into our home. I couldn't follow her inside. It didn't feel like my house anymore. It felt like a crime scene built out of our memories. So I drove, without thinking, until muscle memory led me downtown to Ali's bar. The kind of place where no one asks questions and the lights are dim enough to hide the collapse happening behind your eyes. Bourbon neat, I told the bartender. I was halfway through my second drink when someone sat next to me. Either someone died or someone lied, a woman said. I glanced over. Mid-40s. Sharp eyes. An auburn bob cut that made her look like she didn't tolerate nonsense. What makes you say that? I asked. 20 years in family law, she replied. I know the look. You're a lawyer? Divorce attorney, she said. Rebecca Mitchell. We shook hands. So, Frank Brennan, death or deceit? She asked. Deceit, I exhaled. She nodded knowingly. Wife or husband? Wife. Oh, that explains it, she muttered. Let me guess, she cheated, denied it, then blamed you when denial didn't work. I stared at her. How did you know that? Pattern, she said simply. They all follow the same script. I told her about Jose. The message. The laughter. The accusations of insecurity. Rebecca didn't even flinch. Classic gaslighting, she said. Make you question your reality so she can protect hers. I swallowed, the truth burning like the bourbon. Do you think she's cheated before? I asked. Rebecca set down her martini. I think you already know the answer, she said. The real question is, what are you going to do about it? Her words hung between us, heavy and unavoidable. What was I going to do? Pretend nothing happened? Go home and swallow the betrayal? Try to save something that had already rotted from the inside? For the first time that night, I realized I wasn't just standing at a crossroads. I was standing in the ruins of a marriage I thought would last forever. Heather kept sneaking around with Jose long after she thought I'd stopped asking questions. And when Rebecca looked at me across that dim bar and gently said, You already know the truth, Frank. You just haven't let yourself admit it yet. I felt something in me finally crack open. Deep down I did know. I'd known since the moment I saw the look in Heather's eyes, that cold flicker of guilt she tried to mask with irritation. But hearing Rebecca say it out loud made everything real in a way I couldn't keep running from. People like your wife, Rebecca continued, her voice soft but cutting straight to the bone, don't cheat because something's missing at home. They cheat because they believe you won't catch them. It's entitlement dressed up as boredom. Her words didn't just sting. They landed, heavy and sharp, finally giving shape to the storm that had been churning inside my chest. Heather wasn't remorseful. She was simply furious the curtain had slipped for a moment. I need proof, I murmured, barely recognizing my own voice. More than just the messages. Rebecca nodded once, almost sadly. That's where this always begins. I left O'Malley's with her business card burning a hole in my pocket and a plan forming. A dark, unsteady plan. Honor was no longer something I could afford. Not when my marriage had already been stripped of it. I drove straight to my friend Mike's house, calling him from the driveway. It was nearly midnight, but he picked up immediately. Frank? What's wrong? Can I crash on your couch? That was all I could get out. 20 minutes later, we were both sitting in his kitchen, the overhead light too bright, his eyes narrowing as I recounted the night. With every detail, his expression turned darker. Jesus, that's messed up, he finally said. So what now? What are you going to do? I need to know everything, I replied. How long it's been happening? If Jose's the only one. Mike's eyebrows lifted. You think there might be others? The thought hit me like a punch to the ribs. I hadn't even considered that possibility until that moment. I don't know, I said quietly. But I need to find out. Mike leaned back, running a hand through his messy hair. You remember Jay Cullen? From college? Computer guy. Paranoid genius back then, digital security specialist now. A vague memory surfaced. Tall, skinny, glasses too big for his face, always surrounded by wires and glowing screens. You still talk to him? Mike nodded once. He owes me a huge favor. The next morning, after the most restless night of my life, I met Jay at a quiet coffee shop tucked between two office buildings. He looked older, sharper, more put together, but the focused intensity in his eyes hadn't changed at all. Mike filled me in, he said, sliding into the booth. I'm sorry, man. I nodded, unable to speak without my voice cracking. Here's what I can do, Jay said, switching instantly into professional mode. If you have access to her accounts, email, social media, cloud storage, I can extract and analyze everything. Text too if you can get her phone. He paused, then added carefully, it's not exactly standard procedure. But cheating on your spouse isn't exactly standard behavior either. Is it legal? I asked, though the truth was, at that point I didn't care. Jay shrugged slightly. You're married. Shared accounts, shared devices, it's a gray area at most. That was all I needed. What do you need from me? Passwords if you have them. Device access if you can get it. And, he looked me directly in the eyes, you need to be ready for what you might find. Some things you can't unsee, Frank. I thought of Heather's cold laugh in our driveway, the way she called me insecure while hiding 3 different lives. I already saw enough last night, I said. I want the whole truth. Jay nodded once. And one more thing, don't let her know you're suspicious. Act normal. If she thinks you're on to her, she'll start wiping evidence. The idea of going home and pretending nothing had happened while Heather continued lying so seamlessly made my stomach twist. But Jay was right. I needed time. I'll text her, I said finally. I'll tell her I crashed at Mike's after having too much to drink. Good, Jay replied. That buys us room to work. As I drove back to Mike's place, something strange settled inside me, a calmness so sharp it almost felt like clarity. Maybe it was the shock breaking. Maybe it was anger hardening into resolve. Heather thought she was smarter than me. Thought I was too trusting, too simple, too blind to ever catch on. She was about to learn how wrong she'd been. Jay worked faster than I expected. 3 days later, he called and told me to come to his home office. A renovated garage packed wall-to-wall with servers, monitors, and equipment that buzzed softly like some kind of digital hive. You might want to sit, he said. I've been staying at Mike's, I told him quietly. Heather keeps swinging between anger and nostalgia. It's like she's cycling through personalities. Jay nodded knowingly. Manipulation, he said. Standard pattern. How bad is it? I asked. His expression darkened. Worse than you think. He turned one of the monitors toward me. And just like that, my world broke open again. Names, dates, locations, excerpts of messages. 3 columns. 3 men. Jose, Scott, Jason. 3? I whispered. 3 affairs. That I can confirm, Jay said softly. All overlapping. And based on timestamps, this has been going on for 14 months. 14 months. More than a year of lies. More than a year of deception. More than a year of climbing into my bed after slipping out of someone else's. Jay clicked again, opening a color-coded calendar. Blue entries. Jose. Mostly Tuesdays and alternate Thursdays. Green. Scott. Fridays. Red. Jason. Sporadic, but usually when you were traveling. I stared at the screen, numb. It wasn't sloppy cheating. It was organized, scheduled, maintained with precision. A full system of betrayal. There's more, Jay said quietly. Messages. Emails. Photos. Show me. Frank, you don't have to. Show me. So he did. I made myself look at all of it, every message, every picture, every lie, until the pain numbed itself into something cold and sharp. She has them on a rotation, I said finally. Like a damn schedule. Jay exhaled. Yeah. And from what I can tell, none of them know about one another. That line, that detail. That was what flipped the final switch inside me. Heather hadn't just cheated. She'd engineered an entire secret world, with 3 men orbiting her like satellites, while presenting herself as the perfect wife to me. "I want everything," I told Jay. "Every file, every screenshot, every recovered message. Organize it by date, by person, all of it." Jay hesitated. "Frank, what are you planning?" I thought of Heather's smug dismissal the night I caught her. The way she rolled her eyes. The way she tried to make me feel small. "Justice," I said simply. "I'm planning justice." When I left Jay's house, flash drive in my pocket, every ugly truth compressed into a single piece of metal, I finally felt something I hadn't felt since this nightmare began. Control. Heather truly believed she was untouchable. But she was about to find out just how wrong she was. For the first time since seeing Jose's message on her phone, I actually smiled. Not with joy. With certainty. I didn't go home right away. I couldn't. Not yet. Not while my mind was still sharpening into something dangerous and deliberate. Instead, I stayed hidden away at Mike's place for 2 more days, practically living inside the evidence Jake had given me. Every file, every message, every timestamp, I studied them like exam material for the most important test of my life. "You're starting to freak me out, man," Mike said from across the room, watching me arrange folders like a detective mapping out a crime scene. "You haven't slept in, what, 30 hours? "I'll sleep when this is finished," I muttered, eyes glued to the screen. "And the terrifying part? I meant it. I'd never felt more awake in my entire life. The heartbreak had cooled into something sharper. Cold, unwavering determination. Rebecca, the divorce attorney from the bar, had somehow become part of my inner circle. When I called her and told her what Jake uncovered, she came over without hesitation. She sat on Mike's couch with her laptop open, scrolling through the files Jake compiled. "This is substantial," she said slowly. "Honestly, most people filing for divorce don't have even a fraction of this." "What are my options?" I asked. She leaned back, folding her arms thoughtfully. "Well, legally speaking, Oregon's infidelity clause works in your favor. With this much proof, the settlement will be extremely favorable to you. But," she tilted her head, studying me, "something tells me that's not really what you're asking." She was right. A good settlement wasn't even close to enough. "I want her to lose everything," I said, my voice steady, dead steady. "Not just money. I want her dignity shattered. I want the perfect little world she built to collapse in front of her." Mike shifted uncomfortably, like he wasn't sure he wanted to be in the room for this. Rebecca, on the other hand, didn't even blink. "Then you dismantle her support system," she said plainly. "Every lie she relies on. Every person she's using. Strip that away, and she has nothing left." "They don't know about each other," I added. Jake confirmed it. Rebecca's lips curled into a slow, calculating smile. "Well, that's your leverage then, isn't it?" Over the next 24 hours, everything fell into place. Rebecca drafted the divorce papers. 3 names listed under the infidelity clause. Jake compiled full dossiers on each man. Jose, the rival company sales executive. Scott, her Zen-sounding yoga instructor. Jason, our neighbor's younger brother who'd moved back into town. "They all think they're the only one," I said, flipping through the files. "Not tomorrow," Rebecca replied. That evening, I finally texted Heather. I told her I was ready to talk. That I'd be home Friday at 6 p.m. She responded instantly, paragraphs of relief, excuses, and sugary promises about working through this misunderstanding. She had no idea that on Friday at exactly 4 p.m., each of her lovers would receive an email from an anonymous address, complete with proof of her multiple affairs and an invitation to our home at 6:30 p.m. There was one more call I had to make. Heather's parents adored me. They believed in our marriage so deeply it bordered on religious. They deserved the truth, not the polished lie Heather would eventually hand them. "This feels extreme," Mike said as I prepared to call them. "Is it?" I snapped. "More extreme than 3 ongoing affairs? More extreme than laughing in my face? Because that felt pretty extreme to me." Mike raised his hands in surrender. "I'm not judging, man. Just, once you do this, there's no coming back." "I don't want to come back," I said. And for the first time, I knew that was the truth. The call with her parents went exactly how I expected. Her mother cried so quietly it almost hurt to hear. Her father, a retired judge with a moral compass carved out of steel, asked questions with increasing disgust. His voice grew icier with every detail. "We'll be there," he said. 6 o'clock. When I hung up, a strange calm washed over me. Tomorrow wasn't just confrontation. It was demolition day. Heather's perfect world, the one she curated so carefully, would finally implode. Instead of satisfaction, I felt a dark, quiet resolve, and beneath it, a hollow grief for the life I thought I had. "Get some rest," Rebecca said as she packed up. "Tomorrow's going to be heavy." But sleep? Impossible. Tomorrow was the day I reclaimed control of everything she'd broken. Friday arrived with the air buzzing around me, like static before a storm. I spent the morning reviewing every step of the plan with Jake and Rebecca. "Remember," Rebecca warned, "the moment you lose your calm, you lose your power." I won't. And for once, I believed myself. At 5:30 p.m., I pulled into my own driveway. The house looked the same as when I left. Too familiar. Too still. Like a stage waiting for the curtain to rise. Through the window, I could see Heather moving around the kitchen, setting the table, preparing dinner, probably rehearsing her innocent wife performance. I stepped inside. She was already waiting in the entryway, face arranged into an expression that would have fooled anyone who didn't know better. "Frank?" she breathed, stepping toward me with open arms. "Thank God you're home." I sidestepped her hug. She hid her flash of annoyance behind practiced concern. "We need to talk," I said. "Of course," she said quickly. "I made your favorite." "I know everything, Heather." She froze. "What do you mean?" "Jose, Scott, Jason." I said each name slowly, watching her face unravel. All of them. For over a year. The shock was real, but only for a moment. Then the calculation clicked into place. She opened her mouth, probably to vomit excuses, but the doorbell cut her off. "That would be your parents," I said quietly. Her eyes widened. My parents? Why would you?" "I invited them. They deserve to hear why their son-in-law is filing for divorce." "You had no right," she snapped. "Actually," I said, brushing past her toward the door, "I had every right." Her parents stepped inside, their faces grim. Her father looked like judgment incarnate. Her mother wouldn't even meet her daughter's eyes. "Come in," I said. Heather was just about to explain why she's been sleeping with multiple men. Eleanor gasped. Judge Wilson nodded, jaw tight. Heather stood there, trapped, unraveling, furious. "What is this?" she demanded. "Some kind of intervention?" "No," I said. "It's the truth. Something you've never been comfortable with." Then the doorbell rang again. Heather's breath caught. She knew. She finally knew. That, I continued, would be Jose, or Scott, or Jason. "I invited them too." "You didn't," she whispered, horrified. I smiled without a shred of warmth. "Oh, but I did." What followed was 30 minutes of pure, surreal chaos. Jose arrived first, his swagger withering the second he saw her parents. Then Scott. Then Jason. All of them confused. All of them slowly realizing the same horrifying truth. "What the hell is going on?" Jose demanded, looking between Heather and me. "Sit," I said, gesturing to the couch. And amazingly, they did. 3 men who'd been sharing my wife without knowing now sat shoulder to shoulder, staring at her like she was on trial. Heather stood trembling, eyes flicking from one man to the next, panic radiating off her. "Frank, please," she whispered. "We can talk about this privately." "Privately?" I laughed. "Like you talked privately with Jose?" The moment I said those names, Jose, Scott, Jason, the room shifted. All 3 men glanced at one another, confusion twisting slowly into realization. "Wait, you guys know each other?" Scott asked, staring between Jose and Jason like he was solving a puzzle he didn't want the answer to. Jason shook his head slowly. "No, never seen them in my life." "Well," I said, stepping toward the big TV on the wall, "you're about to see how well connected you really are." I hooked up my laptop. With a single click, the spreadsheet Jake built filled the screen. Months of data, neatly arranged, color-coded, time-stamped, like the world's most organized disaster. 14 months. 14 months of hidden routines, overlapping dates, hotel visits, and calculated lies, laid out with the coldness of a scientific report. For more than a year, I said to the room, my wife has been juggling all three of you. Carefully. Systematically. None of you knew about the others because she designed it that way. Heather's mother let out a tiny, strangled sound, like someone punched the air out of her lungs. Her father didn't speak, but the expression on his face said enough. Granted. Fury held in place only by decades of judicial discipline. This is ridiculous, Heather snapped, her voice wobbling between anger and panic. You're putting my private life on display. You're humiliating me. I laughed once, sharp and humorless. Privacy? From the woman who lied to every single person standing in this room? That's a bold angle. I switched screens. Now the TV showed her Tuesday schedule with Jose. The messages between them left nothing to the imagination. Recognize this? I asked Jose. His expression darkened. You told me your husband was clueless. He was, Heather blurted out before she could stop herself. She realized instantly she just admitted everything, out loud. But I wasn't done. I walked them through everything. Every message. Every coordinating text. Every excuse she recycled with different men. Every hotel room she reused because she thought it was clever. But the worst, the part that cracked something deep inside me, were her messages about me. Mocking me. Calling me boring. Predictable. A placeholder she could return to when she needed stability. With every piece of evidence, the atmosphere thickened, anger from the men, disgust from her parents, and a kind of collapsing dread clinging to Heather. Finally, Judge Wilson spoke. His voice, when he used his judicial tone, could have silenced a courtroom. Heather, he said, is this true? All of it? She hesitated. For a moment, I saw the old Heather, the quick liar, the charming manipulator, trying to spark back to life. But when 5 betrayed faces stared at her, something finally snapped. Fine, she yelled. Yes, it's all true. I was bored, okay? I needed more. Frank wasn't enough. Happy now. The confession landed like a grenade. Then she turned to me, venom in her eyes. You've destroyed everything. Are you satisfied? I looked at her, this stranger who shared my bed, my dreams, my life, and for the first time I didn't feel anger. Just clarity. No, I said quietly. I'm not happy. But for the first time in years, I feel free. I handed her the divorce papers Rebecca had prepared. We're done, I said. And unlike you, I don't need to repeat myself. What followed felt unreal, like a movie unfolding around me. The men left one by one. Jose's exit was pure fury. Scott paused awkwardly, giving me an apologetic nod before slipping out. Jason clenched his jaw, silent and boiling. Heather's parents lingered. Judge Wilson joined me in the kitchen, lowering his voice. I've always considered you a son, he said, sorrow weighing every word. Whatever happens now, that doesn't change. His kindness almost broke me. After holding myself together for days fueled by anger, that small gesture cracked the armor I'd built. When they finally left, Heather and I remained, standing across from each other like two empty shells in a home filled with echoes. You destroyed everything, she whispered. You humiliated me in front of everyone I care about. No, I said, exhaustion bleeding into every syllable. You did that by yourself. Her eyes hardened. Oh, you're righteous now? Perfect Frank? Tell me, did your little revenge show feel good? I thought about it. Feel good? I repeated. No, it felt necessary. Everyone deserved the truth, even you. She scoffed. Truth? As if you've never lied. Not like this, I said softly. Never like this. Her shoulders sagged, the fight draining from her. For a moment she looked human again, tired, small, wrecked by the mess she created. What happens now? She asked, barely above a whisper. You have 72 hours to collect your things, I said, repeating the lawyer's instructions. The divorce is moving forward. The prenup handles everything else. 15 years, she said, shaking her head. Just gone? It ended when you decided I wasn't enough, I replied. You just forgot to inform me. I walked upstairs to the guest room. Behind me I heard a sound, maybe a sob, maybe a breath, but I didn't turn around. For the first time since discovering her betrayal, I felt nothing. Not anger, not love, not even hate. Just a hollow space where she used to be. 6 months passed like slow-moving fog. Rebecca handled every detail. The overwhelming proof made the process fast, clean, decisive. The prenup, something I'd once rolled my eyes at, ended up saving me from financial ruin. Heather didn't fight it. Whatever spark of defiance she once had seemed gone. She moved to Seattle eventually, alone. None of the men followed her. Mike threw me a freedom dinner when the divorce was finalized. Rebecca came too, no longer my lawyer but someone I genuinely trusted. To freedom, Mike said, raising his glass. To truth, Rebecca added. To whatever comes next, I said, surprising myself by meaning it. After dinner, Rebecca and I walked along the waterfront. Any regrets? She asked. I thought about it for a long moment. No, I finally said. The truth needed to come out, for all of us. Healing only starts when the lying stops. She gave me a soft smile. So what now? What's next for Frank Brennan? Honestly, I said, breathing in the cool spring air. I have no idea. And for the first time, that actually feels exciting. 3 weeks later, I sold the house. Too many memories. The good ones felt tainted, and the bad ones clung to the walls like shadows that refused to leave. My new place was small, downtown, bright, uncluttered. A clean slate I didn't know I needed. Judge Wilson called on moving day. He and Eleanor still checked on me, refusing to let Heather twist the story into something it wasn't. We'll visit next weekend, he said. Eleanor insists on bringing a housewarming gift. I'd like that, I told him. And this time, I meant it. That evening, while unpacking, I opened a box I'd almost forgotten about, our old photo albums. 15 years of smiles, vacations, holidays, frozen moments I wasn't sure I could trust anymore. For a second, I considered throwing them away. But I didn't. They were real. They happened. They were chapters of a life I lived, even if the final chapter wasn't the one I expected. So I placed them on a high shelf, acknowledged but no longer sacred. Then I opened my laptop and searched for something I'd always wanted to try but never had the courage to begin. Photography classes. The future stretched out in front of me, quiet, open, unclaimed. For the first time in a very long time, I was free. If this story stayed with you, don't forget to subscribe to Dark Infidelity Stories, where every betrayal has a voice, every ending has a lesson, and every truth finally finds the light. Tap like, share, and comment to support the channel and help our stories reach more people who need to hear them.